My favorite part of what I get to do every single day is interacting with our team. I am not a car person. I will never admit to having the product knowledge and the passion for automobiles that a lot of people in our industry have, but I absolutely love the relationships and the impact. When we talk about legacy and what we want to be remembered for and the impact that we want to make, I do believe that there's a place for love and kindness and respect in leadership and in high performing companies. And we discount that sometimes in the business world. We are celebrating 100 years as a company this year, which is pretty exciting, but we're not reflecting back. We're actually saying, what did we learn over 100 years that's going to take us forward? Because we are now 24 auto dealerships in Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina. We're about to open number 25 early next year in Maryland, so we'll be adding our fourth state. We represent 18 different brands. We do mostly non-luxury. We dabble in the luxury with Volvo, Lincoln, and Cadillac, but mostly the high-volume non-luxury brands. We are right now in 8 different markets. We have a little over 1,200 associates and continuing to grow. Angel, I think that car dealers and dealership groups, it couldn't be argued that we are some of the most generous businesses. What we talk about at CMA, though, that is a little bit different is that we want to give back, but we want it to be more than just a check. And so when we get involved with a partner in one of our local communities, we're looking for, yes, what kind of money can we contribute? How can we add volunteer hours and time to helping their mission and the people that they serve? And how can we help create awareness around their needs and the need in our community so that others will join us? So when we find a partner, it's how can we contribute financially, how can we give time, and how can we bring awareness, whether it's highlighting them on our social media channels, whether it is putting them on our website, on newsletters to our customers, whether it's putting something in our service departments, because we have thousands and thousands of customers visiting our service departments every single day and month. So we really try to have it be a full partnership with the nonprofits that have needs in our community. And we really try to do our homework too, to make sure that we're finding the ones that have the greatest need. And often, at least 75% of our philanthropic work, we tie back to transportation. Because we found that transportation is such a big part of the need of people in our community to be self-sufficient. It's a great need for most nonprofits. Even someone joked they wanted to partner with the SPCA. And I said, well, usually we were working with families and children. And they said, well, the SPCA has a mobile unit that needs service, it needs maintenance, it needs detail. Could we partner with them in that way? So we always trying to find ways that they're our greatest need, but also if we can tie it to transportation, which is what we know and love and are passionate about and have a lot of resources around, we think we can make an exponential impact. From the day that a new associate is joining us, they go through an explanation of what it means to move a life forward. We share with them that it all starts with them. We first have to focus on moving lives forward for our associates before together we can be moving lives forward for our customers and for our community. When I mentioned we're 100 years old this year, I am the 4th generation of the Myers family to have the honor and the privilege to lead this organization. Now, the 3 before me were all Harrison Carter Myers. We had senior, junior, and then the 3rd. And then came Liza Borches. So it looks a little bit different, but I have had the greatest mentor and advisor in my father over the 20 plus years that we've now been able to work together in this industry. And I know he had the same from his dad and the same from his grandfather. So 4th generation, I actually had no intent of coming into the auto industry. I obviously grew up with it in my blood. I was around it all the time. But it was a challenging time for my dad when I was a teenager, probably from when I was about 10 and really through my college years. And so all I saw was that my dad was working 7 days a week, 24/7. We would meet at Friendly's on Tuesday nights for dinner as a family because he could get away from the store and it was kids eat free on Tuesdays. And the dealership really struggled in the late 80s and 90s. We had to move to Charlottesville because this dealership, there was a moment where we thought the group may not be any longer, that we could go bankrupt. And my dad would come home, and the saying in our house was 6 cars a day keeps the banker away. Dad, how many cars did y'all sell today? And so I only saw the really stressful side and the transactional side, I think, of our business. So when I was going to college, I had no intent of coming in the automotive world. But my fourth year of college, my dad took me to NADA, and I'd been going to NADA since I was probably 12 or so. And we were at the Honda party one evening, through NADA. And I got to meet Dick Culliver and Dick Zamborsky, who at the time were the executive vice president of American Honda, and I think it's his title, or auto sales. And Dick Zamborsky was the vice president of sales. And they shared with me, my dad was real proud. My daughter's about to graduate University of Virginia. And they said, well, we have a management trainee program at Honda that is for people like you just graduating. And I had been looking at jobs doing, investment banking in New York. And I looked at a marketing job with a General Mills, for example, in Atlanta. And I was kind of all over the place. And I hadn't found something that really spoke to me. I was really good at finance, but I didn't want to live in New York. And I wasn't sure that cereals excited me a whole lot from a marketing perspective, but I loved marketing. And so kind of at the last minute, as I was making some of these job offer decisions, I threw my name in the hat for this trainee program at Honda. And I ended up getting hired and decided to move out to Southern California and work for American Honda Motor Company. My dad will say he was secretly the happiest day of his life when I decided to stay in automotive, but we didn't talk about it. And Angela, the truth is, he and I had never once spoken about me coming to work for the family company. He never put pressure on me. He never offered it to me. It was not in the discussion. So anyway, long story short, I went to work for American Honda, which kept me in automotive. And I got to travel all around the country, really seeing how different each dealership was run and how there were so many successful ways to run a dealership in an auto group around the country. And that was eye-opening for me. It made me realize that, there were two things. One, I didn't have to do it just like my dad. Although I respected and admired the heck out of him, I knew that there were other paths. But even at that time, I wasn't thinking about coming back. But what really hit me, there was a day, 2002, I think it was, 2002, 2003. And there was an auto group in Maryland that the dealer had been a little bit of a mentor to me and invited me to come to a 3-day leadership training program for all of their general managers. I'd never been to anything like that. I was 27 years old. And so I went and I attended for 3 days, and I watched the general managers of each of these dealerships. There were probably, 25 or 30 of them, plus some other people from the executive team all there. And I watched them spend 3 days building a plan on how they were going to grow their teams, create future leaders, how they were going to create the right customer experience, and the ways that they were going to impact their community. And a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, I want to do what they do. I loved working for American Honda. In fact, I had a dream of being the first female American president of the company. That was my dream. But I realized that I could make a bigger impact on people's lives by getting involved in my community, by putting roots down, and by getting involved in the retail auto business. And I had just never seen it like that before. And so that was a huge moment in my life. I first called my husband, at the time my fiance, on my drive home from that meeting. And I said, Pete, I want to talk to you about something. What would you think about my talking to my dad about coming back to CMA? At the time, we didn't even call it CMA. And he's like, my husband was teaching school, elementary school at the time. And he said, I love Charlotte. It'll be a great place for us to raise a family. We were getting married in a few months. And I was like, all right. So I had his support. And then I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I think I want to come talk to Dad. How do you think this is going to be received? She's like, I think you should talk to him. Well, apparently she gave my dad a little scoop that I was coming over to chat. And he was extremely excited that I was interested in coming to work for the family business. And so that was 2003. I started September of 2003 and have been here for about 21 years. I couldn't have asked for a better person to have trust in me. I mean, he really handed over the reins in a way that I've watched a lot of other fathers or leaders not having that same trust and confidence in their son or daughter to let go. And even a lot of his close friends and other dealer friends have been shocked that he was willing to let go the way that he did. And I just take that as just a huge vote of confidence. But he still loves this industry. He goes to NADA every year. He would never miss it. He loves the legislative part of our business and just supporting the industry as a whole. And so we'll call him at VADA and be like, hey, can you come work the phones and call other dealers to get them to give to the NADA PAC? And he loves doing things like that and certainly wants to keep contributing in ways that he can. What I love about automotive is, and I think we hear this more and more often now, is the opportunity that we give to individuals in this country that almost no other industry can. We have lots of different types of positions. We have the opportunity for people to create financial independence without having a huge amount of college debt. The percentage of people who have been very successful in our industry without a college degree or with some college is higher than any other industry out there. What you need to in this business is you got to have people skills. You have to have communication skills. You have to have incredible work ethic. You have to want to have a little bit of creativity and innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. And so we attract people to this industry that wouldn't excel in others. And we get some of the most incredible humans in automotive because of it. So we've got to keep sharing our story because not enough people know about the fantastic careers and opportunities that we have in auto. So when I get passionate about it, I really get passionate about the opportunity and the impact. The other piece of it when we talk about impact is understanding that in this country, people have to have safe and reliable transportation to almost do life. We have very few metro communities in the United States that you can really live on public transportation. I mean, the major metros, but the majority of car dealerships are not in those major metros. So we've got communities that rely on us to help them make great decisions around their transportation so they can get where they would need to go in life. That's when we talk about moving lives forward. It's like people need to get where they want to go in life, and we've got to help them get there. That means asking great questions, building relationships with our customers so that we can really live and breathe where they're trying to go and help match them with whether it be buying, leasing a car, or the type of service that they need, what can fit in their budget. I just had a customer yesterday who was actually flying back from England. He was doing some work over there, and he had a 2016 Volvo XC70, and he texted me from the plane. And he said, Liza, I found out that my car apparently won't move at the airport. I'm getting it towed over to Volvo. Can you all do something for me so I can get home tonight? The car needed a whole lot of work. It's 8 years old, 150,000 miles. And he said, can you please help me make some decisions on what is necessary now? What can I be doing later? And so from the airplane, while he's flying back over from work, we're texting back and forth with my service manager and saying, these are the 3 things that are necessary so that this car can run and we can have it at the airport when you land tonight at 7:15. These are the 2 things that we want to make sure that you're thinking about the next 6 to 8 months with the miles on your car. We don't want you to end up in a situation where it's not reliable because he travels all the time for work. And then here are the couple things that we're just going to keep our eye on when you come back in for oil changes. So that's our job is we got to have trust from our consumers where they allow me to make a decision while they're on an airplane. And they trust that I'm only going to spend the money that is necessary on their car and then tell them these are the things that we're going to help guide you through over the next year or 2. And we're doing that every single day in car dealerships around this country. We got to be that trusted advisor to help people make really good transportation decisions. When we look 10 and 20 years from now, whether it's electric vehicles, whether it's subscription or some other way of buying, or maybe it's flying vehicles in my kid's lifetime, we still want to be that trusted advisor because consumers are going to have bigger decisions to make about their transportation in the future than they have the last 100 years. It's changing so fast. And so we want to help guide them through those decisions because transportation is what gets them where they want to go in life. Visiting loved ones, taking kids to school, getting to work so they can put food on the table. It's really important. Up until about 2018, 2017, we were individual dealerships across CMA. We were by name and by even a little bit through culture. 2012, I should say, we started building ourselves as one team internally, but externally, we were Heritage Chevrolet, Gateway Hyundai, Valley Honda, all in separate markets. And our consumers and our manufacturer partners really had no idea that we even had sister stores or the breadth and depth of our organization. So someone who had been buying Hondas from us in Richmond for the last 2 generations might have a child that needed a Volkswagen And they had no idea that we had a Volkswagen store that we could deliver to them in Richmond. So in 2019, we went through a full rebranding, and that's when we became CMA. And all of our stores now are CMA's Colonial Honda, CMA's Valley Honda, CMA's Honda of Winchester. We've started doing market-based naming strategies so that people understand where our dealerships are and that they're all under the CMA umbrella, so that that customer who is generational knows that no matter where they are or what brand they're interested in, they're going to get a great experience and that same relationship and trust that they've known CMA for 100 years. So that was a big moment in our company. I think it's helped us be what part of our goal was to be a regional impact player, making sure that we were top of mind for our manufacturers when a new point came available or there was a potential buy sell, making sure that customers, regardless of where they were, knew that they had a CMA relationship nearby, and that our communities, we could work better together as one big team and making impact on communities across Virginia and now our other states. I think every leader is always evolving, right? We learn from our mistakes, we learn from successes, we understand and can see when things connect with our team and when it doesn't, and we got to regroup. I think that my leadership style really evolves from something that is unique and special to our company, which is our ESOP. So we are one of 5 or 6 dealer groups in the country that are employee owned. Not our whole company, but our associates own 26% of CMA. And that gives every person in our company an ownership mentality, that they should be looking at this dealership, this company, or the customer that's in front of them and saying, this is my company. As an owner, how should I make this decision? And so why that's impacted my leadership style is because I really lean on our team and our associates to be fellow owners with me in almost everything that we do. So there are certainly some non-negotiables as a company and some things that we communicate clearly around our core values, around certain systems or technology that we might use. But we look from the day that we hire somebody and the day that we are promoting someone into leadership is to say, do they live and show our core values through their actions? Do they put their ownership hat on every single day and care about this company, their fellow associates and their customers the same way that I do? And so there's certain things I look for in leaders as I'm growing them through the company. And so my leadership style is certainly not authoritarian. In some ways, I probably lean too much to a democratic leadership style. I have to catch myself on that sometimes. But I also am really clear about expectations. I'm clear on the behaviors and characteristics that I'm looking for in fellow leaders. And I strive to empower all of the leaders around me to make decisions. I think the biggest change that I've made in my leadership style over the last 10 years is developing and investing in the leaders around me so that I can trust and empower them to make great decisions. And I can't remember where I was reading this the other day, and it might be somebody, I don't know, I won't guess, but someone was explaining to me the difference in delegation versus leverage. And I realized that this has been powerful in my own leadership journey, not to just delegate where you're nervous, is it going to actually get done? And is it going to get done the way that I want it done? But leverage is making sure that you've had the one-on-one with that leader to set really clear expectations. They know the outcome that together you've decided upon, but you give them the empowerment to figure out how to get there. So I would say that is important in my leadership style. I very much empower the team around me. But I'm also clear from the outset of what we're trying to accomplish and that it has to be done through our core values and in line with our mission. When I think about what my role as the CEO is, the majority of my time needs to be spent looking bigger picture than what we're doing today in our dealerships. And that's hard. I'd love to be right down there on the showroom floor meeting and greeting customers. And over the years, I've really had to pull myself out of that space because the company needs me to be serving in a much bigger picture way, right? And that comes to innovation. I am overly involved at times in whether it be conferences, webinars, meetings, events, listening in on podcasts. One of my strengths, we're a strengths-based organization through the Gallup Strengths Program. One of my strengths is learner. And then the other one that also is input that has to do with kind of that same feeling. I am to a fault reading, listening, jumping into conversations, attending every conference and group that I can. My team sometimes tells me, Liza, we don't have time to actually even digest all of the ideas and information that you're bringing back. So I have to caution myself and say, okay, my word for this year was rocks, which is let me make sure I'm learning and gathering input on the areas that are most important for our company. So Angela, when I think about innovation and how we bring new ideas to CMA, we start in the fourth quarter of every year, a little bit corporate-like, doing a SWOT analysis and really saying, where's our company right now? And I know being in marketing, you all do this a lot, I'm sure. So we do it as a company. I get input from general managers, our executive leadership team, some of our vendor partners. We lay out the strategic plan for the year, and then we have a 3-year strategic plan. And so once I understand what are the most important priorities for the company, now I'm trying to spend time at our NADA supergroup and at conventions and at conferences, seeking out information for those key areas that we've said are most important in our company for about a year to the next 3 years. I bring it back. I vet things through we have an executive management team that are 5 of our most senior general managers who oversee multiple stores, my COO, my CFO. And the group of us get together at least once a quarter for about a half a day. And we talk about where do we need to take bigger risks? Where do we need to be pushing ourselves? Here are all the ideas we've brought together from different events over the last quarter. Which ones do we want to lean into? Where do we need to bring a speaker or an expert in to talk to us? So again, there's some democratic process around it. But I spend a lot of time studying our industry and just listening and learning and visiting other dealer groups. I find that to also be really interesting. And through my YPO organization, studying outside of the industry and understanding what are the innovations happening in other industries that automotive hasn't tapped into yet that we need to be paying more attention to. Well, I think that our industry is one of the most, if not the most adaptable industry out there. But one big thing that I see that's going to be different 10 years from now is we're going to have a lot more women in leadership positions in our industry. We haven't made a lot of progress in the last 20 years, to be honest, but I'm starting to see that momentum happen. I want to be a part of that momentum happening. In order for us to continue to be strong 100 years from now, which is how, being a 100-year-old company, we're thinking, what would 100 years from now look like? We have to have more women in leadership roles. We're talking about staffing being a challenge in every industry, certainly in ours. And when we're running like 21% women in dealerships, we are missing half of the population to even potentially fill some of these staffing and leadership roles because women are not considering automotive. They're not aware of automotive. They don't think it's for them. They're not seeing women successfully have careers in automotive in big ways. And so one of the biggest things that I think is going to change over the next 10 years is just the makeup of the leaders across our industry. And that's going to make us better from an innovation standpoint, I think from a customer experience standpoint, and not because women have all the answers, Angela, but because women need to have a seat at the table so that we're hearing from all genders, all ages, all backgrounds, all experiences, all nationalities and ethnicities. We've just got to have a more diverse group of voices at the table, and women are a big part of that. I've been talking about this for too long, and Danelle, I work with her as a coach, and she challenged me at the beginning of this year. She's like, Liza, it's been on your goals for the last 2 years, but I haven't seen any action. What are you going to do? So I said, well, Danelle, I have an idea, but I need you to help me with it. She's been such a great coach for me and for our leadership team at CMA that we launched in July. We actually have 54 women in this group, and it's comprised of a couple of dealers, general managers, sales managers, finance managers, service managers, parts managers, BDC managers, marketing directors, body shop manager, controllers, vehicle upgrade managers. I think we have every single position in the dealership, every single leadership position in the dealership covered in this group. And that was just organic from people who reached out wanting to be a part of it. So about half of the women in the group are from CMA, and actually exactly half, and the other half are from other dealership groups around the country. And while I'm looking for us to be able to provide for these women a year-long community of coaching and training that is backed by Danelle's Team Engage training, it's 52 weeks, and it's really building people personally and professionally. It's not how to run a dealership. It's how to set yourself up for success, how to build confidence, how to set goals, how to have a higher level of achievement in your personal and professional life so that you're prepared when that leadership opportunity comes in your dealership group. My goal is that we need to have more general managers as women, general managers and executive level leaders. We do an okay job getting women to up into a departmental leadership level, and that's where we're seeing a lot of drop off. I want to learn from these women what we're doing wrong or what we could be doing better as an industry to help support them to move into these roles. So I'm going to be listening and learning as much as anybody during this year. And I've committed to the other dealers who have invested in women leaders from their company to be a part of this group, that I'm going to share everything back to them, because it can't just be me and CMA out there wanting to lead this charge. And there are a lot of other groups that care deeply about this, but we need people to start taking action. We need other dealer groups. And there's a lot of men who have dealer groups that have invested in women to be a part of this. And I look forward to them being ambassadors and sponsors and allies in this effort. And so I look forward to sharing with them as much as I can so that together we can make an impact and actually start seeing the numbers grow over the next 10 years. Hopefully sooner, but I'm going to say 10 years. I talked to our team a lot about, there are 4 things that I look for in leaders in CMA. And these are things that can be developed. It's not something you're necessarily born with. The first thing that I look for is people who are curious. I am a lifelong learner. I probably read and listen to podcasts more than most, almost to a fault sometimes. And when I look around our company and when I look at the strengths of our leadership team, learner is actually one that was one of the most common strengths across leaders at CMA. So I think not only are we looking for and attracting, but also encouraging people to be curious and be lifelong learners. So that's number 1. Number 2 is I look for people that have courage. And I want them to help develop courage within themselves, courage to do the right thing even when no one's looking, courage to make the tough decisions, courage to take risks knowing that you're going to fail and make mistakes sometimes, and that's okay. We want leaders who are courageous, not those who are just okay with the status quo and keep doing what they've always been doing. And from a cultural and ethical and moral perspective, we want them to have the courage to do the right thing. That's extremely important to me and as a company. Third, I want people to have confidence as a leader. They have to have confidence that even through crazy adversity, they got to have confidence that they are capable of finding a solution. Not so confident that they know everything, but confident that they have the tools and the resources, the support, and they can go find those answers. We want people who are innovative in their thinking and confident enough not to give up. And then finally, looking for leaders with humility, confident enough to know that they can't do it alone, right? Humility that they're going to look for answers from their team, knowing that someone else may know better, and that together that they are stronger. So curiosity, courage, confidence, and humility, that's what I look for in leaders. That's what I look to develop in future leaders for CMA. And I think that I certainly have owned those 4 characteristics and attributes in myself as I look to develop myself as a better leader. So I would say my day is very typical until about 7:30 a.m. And then after that, it's all very different every day. But pretty much every single morning, 4:45, I am up writing my gratitude and goals for the day. I do that before I head anywhere. Some days it takes longer than others, and I might have to come back and finish it after my workout, but I always start my day with my gratitude and goals. I then immediately head to go get my physical activity in. And I'm a big runner. So either I'm going to meet a running partner and we'll go on average run about 6 miles around town through UVA grounds downtown. Or I go to Formula Fitness and do a running class, which is on these Woodway treadmills, and then they mix it with some strength and balance that's good for runners. But I'm every single morning doing one or the other, and that is a non-negotiable for me. My time from about 5 a.m. till 7 a.m. it is my own, and my cell phone is not around. Love my kids, but they're not around either. My husband's not with me, and it's my time to get mentally set for the day. And gratitude goals and physical activity are, I think, the absolute key to what I do every single day. So then about 7 a.m., I get home. I am really fast to get ready. My husband says that's why he married me, that I can get ready faster than almost any woman. About 20 minutes, I'm in the shower, out, makeup on, dressed, and about to head out the door. Now that my kids are no longer need me to drive to school and do all these things, that changed my morning. But for many, many years, my husband and I were tag teaming, who drove whom where. My son's heading to college this fall, so he is in 2 weeks actually moving into the dorms, and my daughter will get her driver's license in 6 months, so she's got her learner's permit now. So they don't need me quite as much. So my mornings typically start pretty early then, after I check in with everybody and have usually I don't eat breakfast, which is not healthy. I wouldn't recommend that, but I'm not a breakfast eater. I make my supplement drink that I have every morning, and then I head to either my office here in Charlottesville or jump on the road to get to one of our dealerships. And then my day starts, but that is very different every day. I do have an office in Charlottesville, but I would say I'm here less than, I probably spend at most 10 days a month, maybe in my office here in Charlottesville. So I might be heading to the airport to go to an OEM meeting or to a 20 group meeting or to a YPO meeting, or I'm heading up to Winchester to do financial reviews in one of our markets, or maybe I'm heading to one of our markets who just installed VinQ to sit in on one of the calls, as far as a setup call. So really every day is different. My calendar, I have a wonderful assistant who tries to keep me on track and Tetrises things in so that we leave certain days open so I can go to one of our markets, and we try to fill all the days I'm in Charlottesville with things that need to be done here. Now, I do end my day pretty consistently by 6 o'clock. I'm not in the retail side of our dealership every day, and so there was a guilt for many years that if I was leaving at 5:30 or 6 and our stores were still open, and for a couple hours, I would kind of want to sneak out the back door. I now have become a little bit more mature in realizing that I should say goodbye to people and not feel guilty about that I am putting in more than enough hours. But that was something I had to deal with as I grew. So I typically am running out of wherever I am to go grab my daughter and take her to soccer practice, run home, have dinner with the family, maybe go meet up with a friend for a walk. But I do work really hard to make sure that I have quality time with the people I love outside of work. And that's a journey for all of us as leaders. And so I do know that's important. In my evenings, we are a very active family. So we might be all meeting up at the pickleball court at 7 o'clock and ordering pizza down there and playing family pickleball. Or most often we're at the soccer field. My daughter plays travel soccer, and so we spend a lot of evenings going back and forth to soccer and weekends. So I think that's my day. The work part is not consistent, but my mornings are very consistent. My evenings, if I'm not traveling, are very consistent. I have a huge bookcase, and we actually set it up as a lending library for our company. So any associate in the company can go online and we'll send all these books out. Anytime you talk to me, I'm going to tell you about a different favorite book, because I am very passionate about reading, and I think we pick up so much from other people's experiences that can open our minds. And so the most recent book that I read that I've been recommending to everybody is by David Brooks, How to Know a Person, how to see deeply and how to be deeply seen. That's a big one, and I'll talk about it in a second. And I'm going to couple it with another one that you're seeing all around our industry right now. And I think you were at the SODU conference, or at least some VinQ folks were, where Will Gudera spoke about unreasonable hospitality. I mean, that one we've been talking about for 2 years at CMA from the moment I read it, saying we have got to be taught. This book has to be read in automotive. It is so relevant to how we want people to feel when they leave our dealerships. And so from a career perspective, automotive, unreasonable hospitality is my big one for the last 2 years to encourage people to read. And from a personal standpoint, I love David Brooks' books, but his most recent one, How to Know a Person, was a wonderful reminder about how we all come from such different backgrounds and how our experiences give us the perspective on everything that we see, every way that we react. And I think a lot of people have watched that Chick-fil-A video about how it says everyone has a story. Well, David Brooks in this book really relates it back to you as a human and what your story is and how it impacts how you see others and the types of questions that you ask. And, we know how important connection is and listening is as a leader. So as a leader, I would strongly encourage people to read this book because I think it will give you a moment before you're reacting to one of your fellow associates, giving you better questions to ask your team that are going to help you know them better so that you can help lead them better. So that's one of my favorites. Glenn Lundy, speaking of him, he recently, in this past year, I had never read the book, The Four Agreements. I read it, and actually my husband read it too. And so now we are constantly being like, oh, agreement number 3, why did you assume that? Agreement number 2, you're taking this personally. It has been phenomenal for our marriage. It's given us a language to, in some ways, joke when we might have gotten defensive or gotten into an argument. We actually had a service manager roundtable meeting, and we brought in an Olympic gold medal swimmer. He won medals in 1996 and 2000. So I got to spend all day with about 35 of our team members, service department leaders, assistant service managers, and a couple of our GMs. It was a fabulous day of thinking together, strategizing together, and getting to hear a really inspirational speaker. His name is Josh Davis, and he was from University of Texas. He now is a coach in Oklahoma City is where he lives. And he shared with us some really fun stories about what it is to be an Olympian and go through the Olympic Village, but really, I think more importantly, the journey that it took for him to get there. And now I think he's about my age. It's been 25 years since he was in the Olympics, and what he's done with that knowledge to now give back to the swimming community as a coach. And he was just a fantastic human. In fact, the quote that I loved the most that he shared with us yesterday was, if you know that you're loved and you love what you do, you can really go all out every day. And, we talk a lot about loving our fellow associates and what that means at CMA. And it's exactly who we are. We want people to be passionate about being a part of our company and being a part of this industry and our community, and also know that they're loved and cared for by their fellow associates and leaders. And that really gives them the freedom to be who they are and perform at hopefully their highest level. In our new hire orientation, one of the icebreakers we ask people is, who would you want to have dinner with if you could have one dinner guest, right? And so I was sitting with the new associate who's in our detail department in Stanton, and we were talking about this, and I said, I would like to have dinner, and I hadn't thought about this before. I'd like to have dinner with this woman. Her name was Elizabeth Myers, same as my name. She was my great-great aunt, and she never worked in our company or in our industry, but probably was one of the biggest influences on our company. One, in the 1920s, she went to New York City and sold Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance as a 25-year-old single woman in the 1920s, and was successful enough that she was the only person in our family to have enough cash to keep our company afloat through the Depression. She owned 75% of CMA at that time, and the other 2 owners were also women. One was my grandmother, and one was another woman in Petersburg who had family money. We believe we were the first female-owned auto dealership in the country. We couldn't tell Henry Ford because he did not appreciate women in the workplace. But when I think about someone I look up to, one, I wish that I could have met her. I've been studying a lot about her story. We're writing this book about our 100-year history, and we've been going through all of these old letters and documents in our company. And she actually wrote a letter to my grandfather, and we can't figure out the exact date. We think it was sometime in the 60s. But she was living in New York, and she wrote a letter to my grandfather saying that he needed to get behind the civil rights movement. And at that time, there was not a single Black salesperson working in a dealership in Petersburg, Virginia. And she said, you need to open your eyes and realize that this is the direction that you should take the company. And my grandfather wrote her a letter back that we found that was a little bit non-committal and standoffish. And then we see in our company history that it was within that year that he hired the first Black salesperson in Petersburg, Virginia to work at a dealership. And said it changed our business overnight in a very positive way, from getting different voices at the table, getting new innovative marketing ideas. I mean, we're reading this now as we're studying our company, and it's just fascinating to me that this woman had such an impact on our company. And so I think about, how can I leave a legacy like what she did for our company? And she didn't even work here. So when we talk about looking up to someone, I wish I could know her. I wish I could learn more. I'm digging everything I can right now, but she is certainly someone that I admire. I've had a tremendous number of mentors over the years. My dad certainly being the greatest. I wouldn't be where I am without him. But I will also tell you, my mom, who has never worked in this dealership, never been in automotive. She was a special ed teacher until I was born, and has stayed home with my sister and I, now my niece as her granddaughter. My mom taught me the love, kindness, and respect that I think has been infused in my leadership style. While she never led a company, she was a leader in her own way in our community and in our family. And being able to take attributes from both of my parents has been a tremendous opportunity for me in life. There could not be more different. My mom and dad could not be more different. And then seeing the mutual respect that they have for each other's differences. So those are my two big ones. There are certainly a lot of people in this industry that I look up to over the years. And I found that you can learn something from anyone. I learn as much watching our service advisors on the lane, and the level of patience that they show and the smiles that they show up with, even when they've got upset customers often coming in, not happy that their car is not working. People come in with problems. I learned as much from a person who's 1 week with our company as someone who's been with us for 45 years. So I don't think that people have to be a big time leader in our industry for us to learn from them. We need to be looking everywhere around us for opportunities to gain from others' experiences and wisdom. So I appreciate it. And I want to end with, I look for people who I love, respect, and trust to do business with. And VinQ is a very innovative company that we are learning from every day in our stores that are using VinQ at the moment, and more are transitioning over. We pride ourselves on having long-term relationships because we take time to find the right partners. We are looking for deeper, stronger vendor-partner relationships than just whether it be the best price or the new tool that everybody's talking about. And I value the partnership that we have with your whole team, and really look forward to continuing to grow that. And I'm looking forward to participating at the VinQ Unleashed conference in September as well.